All right, so welcome Darrin Tulley to I'll Call My Guy podcast. I'll tell you a little bit about I'll Call My Guy. I'm sure I always give this speech, but it helps sort of set the tone. So I wanted to talk about, I'm a divorce lawyer, right? That's all I do. But I wanted to talk about other things, and mainly relationships, and I'll explore interesting people. But I got a guy, I got a guy, but that was trademarked. So I'll call my guy, but it's the same thing. Like, if you have a relationship, like, hey, I'm in a jam with this, or I need this, like, I'll call my guy. Like, I'll call somebody that I know that I forged a relationship with. And one of the things as we talk about your background and what you do with Ignite Happy is talk about relationships and how, in my view, and I found this through all of my guests, relationships are everything. And sort of are the backbone or the foundation to any type of success is a relationship. Sales are all relationships, I think. And I sort of want to talk about your background, your growing up, and sort of how you got to do what you do, understand what you do, and then talk a little bit about relationships.
Sounds great,
good?
Rich. Yeah.
All right.
Happy to be here.
Thank you. So I told you, I think right before we got on here, that we have a mutual friend, Mark Sklenka, who I was having dinner with, and he said, tell me about your podcast. And I told him, and I said, I was going to name it Another Asshole the Podcast, because, everyone has a podcast and all that. But I said, no, I really am interested in people, and I love getting to know people and sort of sharing maybe some wisdom with the public. And it's sort of taken off, and it's growing. And a lot of people come up to me, they're like, I heard your podcast. I'm like, oh, wow. And so, somebody who has something called Ignite Happy was very interesting to me, because I'm a big, just who I am, and it's probably born out of childhood trauma, like most of things are.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. But I didn't end up doing heroin or anything like that. I'm sort of a happy-go-lucky guy. Like a lot of my friends say, I'm like, what's the guy, like Cincinnatus, like the guy, the Greek thing, like happy, the happy warrior. Like you go out and I take an approach to, I enjoy life, and I like to do something that I love and help people and try to be happy about things. And the view is that we're here a very short time, and life is filled with awful surprises like cancer and accidents and things. And so I try to make the best out of what I have. And I have come from very modest roots. And so like anything I have is, to me, I'm in the plus. I came here with nothing, and anything I have is a plus. So when I heard Ignite Happy, and then I looked at your website, and I said, oh boy, I need to talk to him about this. So maybe we could start with what you do, and then I want to talk about how you got there.
Yeah.
So what is Ignite Happy?
Well, it's a consulting group.
Okay.
We can get into this detail,
Yeah.
but I got into this, I'd say 7.5 years ago,
Okay.
where I had a moment in time where I recognized I could have been a better leader at that time.
Okay.
So I started my own company to talk about that. And I thought there was an absence of joy and happiness. And in fact, one of the companies I was working for, I was trying to help improve our culture. And I said, why don't we have more happiness? And leaders would say to me, it's not about happiness. So I was like, what? I took it upon myself to say, I'm going to start a firm. It's going to sound a little interesting to some people, and then some people are just going to push it off because it has the word happy in it, right? So I'm trying to really stoke some more joy, possibilities in people. And it's a whole journey. It's a path that I think people could really embrace and take on. So I've developed a company, I've developed a book, The Whole Pathway to Possibilities, which was really based in happiness and inclusion, if we could say that word these days.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
You're welcome here to say it. We want to include everyone.
Well, I mean, that's the whole idea,
No,
right?
I know the climate is awful now, but
It's
yeah.
unbelievable. So, at one point, we got to think about how do we actually gain from the distinction of difference, not separating, but to understand the value of both and with difference, because there's a lot of strength and a lot of power. And that's what this is all based in, to understand how we are in the world. Because like you said and how you opened, it's all about relationships, not just to other people, but with ourselves first. Because I'm a believer, if you're not happy, how can you help others be happy?
All right, let's.
If you don't love, how can you actually love other people?
This is a fantastic point, because I'm always focused on relationships with others, but there is a relationship with yourself.
Absolutely.
Right. And if you don't have happiness, or I think the word that the psychologist uses, anhedonic, you don't find joy in anything, right? Right. Like, and that's a psychological condition that's troubling to psychologists, right? You don't find joy in anything. That's a really, could be serious.
Sounds
it's robotic.
Like
you could be depressed. But that's a real, like, I think the DSM has a thing on it, anhedonism, or I forgot what it's called, but anhedonic is the concept that where you can't find joy in anything. So it stems from that. But all right, I want to put a pin in that for a second. But the company consults with companies.
Yeah. Yeah, so I work with, so I left corporate America. I was in corporate America for over 25 years.
What kind of companies?
Any company that has humans employed.
Okay, now were you a sales guy or were you HR?
So here's the funny thing.
Yeah.
I started my career in numbers. I'm a CPA by trade.
Oh, I did see that.
So I have a love for numbers until I realized it has nothing to do with the numbers. I recognize that the outcome and the numbers come from people. But when you think about companies, especially many of the leaders I've talked to over time, it's about our people. It's about the assets. It's about we had to get financial results. Our customers are number one. So the reality is it's customer number one. We have to get the financial results. And then, oh yeah, by the way, we have great people, our greatest asset. But I don't want to be an asset. I want to be treated first as an employee, as a person that's actually driving the results. So I encourage and help leaders flip the order. People first, and the practices we learn and
employees
teach.
First, you mean?
Employees.
Wow.
People, employees, and how we engage. And it's not just process, it's our practice. It's about how we learn and develop and how we execute. To me, it's a cause and effect. Now we can actually say our customers are valued next. Meaning we're going to take care of them, which means they're going to want to buy more, stay longer. The financial outcomes will help us reinvest in the whole picture. And there's a company, I'll call it a hospital because it was the Hospital Association down in Florida. They actually changed that whole approach. They actually changed their focus away from...
With your guidance.
Yeah, with my guidance.
Right.
They changed their approach from the focus on the patient. Think about that for a second. We're no longer going to focus on the patient. We're going to focus on the employees. Could you imagine?
Well, no, because the mindset is that, and again, this also is, and I tell my wife this, and we have to be better at this. I think all marriages do, but the marriage has to come before the kids.
Yeah.
And that's the same concept because without the marriage, the kids fail if you're not taking care of each other. And so it's people say, oh, I put my kids first. No, you put the mother-father relationship first. Then the kids, because without that, I mean, it's the same concept, right? That makes total sense.
Yeah, and having faith in the other person or other people. You trust each other, right? You're asking for input and you actually are listening and working with it. And you're actually asking for ideas. How do we make it safer for our patients? How do we make it safer so patients don't fall? How do we make it so patients actually are getting recovering faster or happier through the process? This hospital totally turned it around. Their patient safety levels are the best in the country for a regional size hospital. People are healthier, quicker. Their community's happier. The people are actually
and there's a
happier
financial
through the
thing
roof.
because I think Medicare tracks how quickly somebody's readmitted.
Yeah.
And then you lose money.
Yeah.
So if you can keep people out from coming back, I think within 3 days or something, you get dinged by
Great
Medicare.
idea, I'll have to check that. That's
no,
good.
but it's true.
Yeah.
I remember that because one of my friends I had him on here and we talked about that. Medicare watches that when you release somebody, if they're back very quickly, you lose some financial incentive because they want you to make sure when you release them, they're good to go. You get them into rehab. So you're right. That also is a financial incentive too.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah. And their people, they lit up. So they actually celebrated each other more. Even the CEO came in and said, you know what, Darrin, this is like a career extender. Like I want to be here longer. And he would actually open up meetings with the organization, and he would just say, let's just say what we're grateful for. And he would lead, walking the talk. He would actually say that I'm grateful for whatever he said. And he told me, and he was pretty emotional about this. He said there's this one woman that was really recognized by many folks as someone that people looked up to, but she was just not as happy as she used to be. So she actually said in this meeting, you know what I'm grateful for is that I'm happy to come to work again because of this shift. I mean, it's simple.
Well, then you don't have turnaround. You have people that are committed to the organization, to helping each other. I know it all.
Well, to your point, I mean, we have nursing shortages, right? So they had a 55% turnover rate. They went down to, I think it was under 10%. Wow. Burnout rate, this is during COVID, was 60 to 65%. And they went down to, again, single digits of burnouts. Other hospitals down there were actually treating the nurses after they went into a burnout mode. So recovering, like let's give you a crash cart is literally what they called it, which was a bunch of items to make them feel better through that moment. But isn't the whole idea to be preventive?
Right.
To get it up front.
Prophylactic,
Let's
right.
focus back on the employees and the people up front, and then we're going to avoid the burnout. I mean,
wow.
It's just a big shift.
No, it's a huge shift. And to think about okay, how do we care for the employees? How do we let them know that they're not just a number, they're not just a moneymaker, they're, and some of that, frankly, and I think we talked about this before when you walked in, it can't be feigned. You have to have it can't be just some sort of corporate speak bullshit, consultant speak. It has to be from the heart.
Yeah.
because people will sense that if you're just like, oh yeah, whatever. But it's like, no, like we care about you, and we want to ensure that your needs are met, because like for nurses, for instance, they're dosing, and doctors too, they're micro-dosing trauma every day. They're seeing people die, they're seeing people get cancer, they're seeing some heavy stuff, and that takes a toll on them. And if they don't feel wanted, I mean, don't the studies show, Darrin, I'm sure you've looked at this stuff, that most people leave not because of money. It's because they don't feel valued, they don't feel appreciated, right?
It's like 80%.
And I think that's marriages too. I see that too.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, so empathy is a version of that. This is kind of a newer study, but people will stay at different organizations. 90% of people stay if empathy is genuine, to your point. They feel it. They know what you're saying is real. You're going to back it up. You're going to support me. You're going to see me. You're going to value me. You're going to say that I matter. You're going to show it based on everything you say and you do and just how you support me. The other side of it is 80% of people or 40% of people are feeling that empathy is shallow, empty.
Right.
So you could do the math, multiply the 40 times 90. So if you're a leader listening to this right now, over a third of your organization is at risk to leave if your empathy isn't real and genuine and absolutely present. And it's not a soft thing.
No.
This is real. Like, how do we care for human beings, especially today when it's so polarizing? The way we think about our world,
right,
and how we're expecting to get results. We got to drive. The reality is, no, we got to slow down and create the space for possibilities.
Wow. So, all right. So I want to get into like how you became the happiness guy. So where did you grow up?
Upstate New York.
Upstate New York?
The real upstate New York. So north of Albany.
No, so like Syracuse?
That was up by Saratoga. So a town called Queensbury.
Okay.
Just between Saratoga and Lake George at the...
Yeah, right, because everyone thinks Albany's upstate. Or they think, what's that, Westchester County?
Exactly.
Upstate. anything more than 30 minutes outside of the Bronx, yeah. So you grew up there, intact family,
Yep.
Mother, father?
Yep.
What were they working
They're divorced,
class?
but they're...
Right,
yeah,
but when you were
but they're
younger,
still, yep.
yeah. What did they do?
My mom's a nurse.
Right. She did that when you were a kid.
Nurse.
I want to talk
Yep.
about what you observed as a kid. Nurse.
Yep. My dad, he was with a utility company, so he was working on dams and how to optimize power in the Northeast region.
Okay.
I have an older sister.
Okay.
She's just turned 60.
Okay.
She's up in Saratoga. My brother's down in Roswell. He's older as well. So I'm the youngest
You're the
of three.
youngest kid.
Yeah.
And just a typical middle-class childhood?
Yep. Yep.
Okay, in upstate New York.
Yep.
And did anything with, obviously, what kind of nurse was your mother?
Middle school nurse.
Oh, middle school nurse. Okay, helping kids. So, and had the summers off, presumably.
Yeah,
That's a great gig. Those gigs are the hardest to get, by the way. But did anything that they did as, your parents, like in a very typical, Northeast, sort of childhood, if you will, like, what did you learn about happiness from them? Or what did you learn was bad about it doesn't necessarily be a good thing.
Yeah, to me, experiences. I feel fortunate that we did a lot of things. We didn't have a lot of money growing up, but we did travel. Like, they made a point that we'd go to Disney World, that one or two trips. Like, we would drive down. Maybe that was a little painful.
Oh God!
I was in the middle because I was the youngest. I was on the hump,
and no tablet.
and I had to hold the change bag because you had to pay the.
I remember that.
You had to throw the change up front.
But no tablets.
No such
No,
thing
I know,
as
but
tablet.
like you're what the kids call it these days. They call it raw dogging. Like you're just staring straight ahead.
Exactly. Yeah. My brother and sister were making fun of me the whole time. I'm in the middle.
They're poking at you. You're fighting.
They're teaching me, like, outside. There's like a bunch of cows, and they're calling those chickens. So they're teaching me all these wrong things. So you could call that silly joy, I guess. But I hope they listen to this because I'm still going to get them back somehow.
Oh my gosh,
I don't know.
that's funny.
But they gave me experiences, right? And one thing I think that grounded me is my parents were always there for me. I was premature as a baby, so I was excited to get here, Rich. I came out a couple of months early, and I survived. Like, today's day and age, of course, I would have survived probably. Back then, I mean, it was.
Oh, so were you really sick? Like, how premature were you?
It was 7 weeks.
Okay.
So it was,
and that's in the
1970.
Right. Yeah. So the technology wasn't great,
but. Hey, you know what? I was excited to be here. We had to make an impact, I guess. But they were always there for me. Like, so we literally had dinner at 6 o'clock every night as a family. Was it peaceful every night? No. Would they make me eat my vegetables like most families? Yeah. Even if I tried to hide them in my milk, they would still make me drink it. So
right.
I have trauma from that a little bit, to your point earlier about childhood trauma. The one thing is, growing up they're from way upstate New York, up by Governor, Hillsborough, like up by the border in Canada. I think they've had a life where it was a little bit harder. So I think it's harder. It was harder for my family to really love. I think they see me as an outsider a bit because I'm expressly loving people and I will say I love them.
Oh, they weren't like, they were sort of the strong silent type, your dad?
Yeah, I know they love me.
But
your
dad didn't come over and hug you and give you a kiss and say...
Not more recently, probably because I make it uncomfortable now to say...
I'm saying, but as a kid.
As a kid, no. I mean, they would...
You knew they were loved, but it never was expressed.
Yeah, it just wasn't as flowing, I guess. And it wasn't traumatic because I know they were always there for me and they always cared for me. They're always there for me. And when I look back too, my grandparents, my dad's side were pretty present. My grandmother was a teacher. She was a teacher, back in the 40s, 50s. So that's pretty early on.
Right.
But one of the things, being that I had a slow start, I just want to share this because this is a memory for me that it's in my book. It's part of what I talk about. And we were apple picking. So we do all these experiences, apple picking, strawberry picking. We go on vacations. They put a pool in, which we probably couldn't afford when we were younger, but it created a lot of memories. But we went apple picking, and I didn't know my ABCs at age 6, so it's a little behind. And I didn't know any different. I used to rock my head when I was a little kid. I was telling my daughter this the other day. Like, I would ride my little white Huffy bike, and I would just be rocking my head singing a song. But I was a little behind. But my neighborhood was very loving, very, very inclusive. They were always there for me. But I remember in particular going on this apple picking trip because I was in the back seat with my grandmother, my mother, my dad was driving. And we just picked, I don't know, it felt like 100 bags of apples. And we probably ate so much that we were done. I don't know if you've ever experienced that, Rich. But
you spend 10 times more than what it would cost to just go to the store. But you're paying for the experience.
Exactly. Yeah. But in the back seat, my mom said, "Hey, why don't you start to twist the stem on the apple? You ever do that?
Yeah. See
how
long
you're going to marry or ABC?
Oh, I've never done that. That's interesting.
Yeah. So, but then you do your ABCs. You go A, B, C. So they had me sing it and all this stuff. But we had fun with it. We actually went through almost like a whole bag of apples, and I learned my ABCs.
Oh, interesting.
And what it showed me when I reflect on my journey, that it's really important for us to be there. Not give up in people, really help people work through what they got going on. Give them a chance, give them ideas, make it fun, believe. Number one is believe in people. Because it's even going back to the CEO at this hospital. If you didn't believe in people, you wouldn't ask them for their ideas. You wouldn't ask them to be showing up differently. And I think that's the biggest absence that I see in this world is we're not believing in one another.
Why?
We get caught at the surface of what we look like or where we come from, or we don't know if we're supposed to talk to someone a certain way, or we were told who we're supposed to hang out with or what we're supposed to think about. For example, one of the companies that I worked with said we could only hire people with a certain degree or a certain level of degree. Some of the most amazing people I've ever met don't have a degree.
Correct.
Most intelligent.
Correct.
Incredible.
Correct.
Moving people don't have it. So we would have given up on them. I would have given up on them had I not gone through that experience to understand, no, I got to be like my grandmother and my mother, which is really part of my whole story with Ignite Happy. I am there for people in a different capacity than I've ever been. I wasn't that way my whole career, but I had this awakening where I said, no, my God, I got to change to be more like my mother and my grandmother. And my dad he's always been my mentor. Like, he was there driving, probably losing his mind with my singing ABCs and doing it incorrectly most of the time. Until the end, we got it. But it's just, we're all on a journey. So if we could just give each other some space and a little support along the way, it'd be amazing.
But why, I guess my question was, why don't we believe in people enough?
I don't know. What do you think, Rich?
I don't know the answer. You're the consultant. I don't know.
Well, why? Because we're not.
Here's why. I think it's at least I can speak from the American experience. I can't speak from European experience, whatever. But I would say that we're a deeply cynical culture now, and that I think that the internet, while it's found ways to connect us than texting, it also doesn't allow for the deep, meaningful connections that we used to have. And we're not, and we're focused more on those things than on sort of building the relationships and sort of, riding bikes in the neighborhood and all of those things. And I think that when you don't have the connection, you can't look somebody in the eye and, see the emotion on their face like that. You lose that sense of empathy, right? You can't, in my view, build empathy without human connection and contact.
Yeah.
So that's my sort of back of the napkin
take,
I love maybe.
Yeah, I agree. And just to build on that, Rich, is that I agree. We're so connected, but we're so disconnected more than ever.
Right.
to your point, we all have phones and we're texting, and it's shorter and shorter what we're texting. And I'm always asking, what the heck does this mean? Like to my kids, like when they give us the abbreviation in the text.
Yeah.
Like, whatever that might be.
TYSM and other.
Exactly.
No, but here's why. Like when your dad went off to work, okay, 7:30, whatever he went in the morning, your mom didn't hear from him until he pulled into the driveway.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then you got to use that time to like, how was your day? What happened? Like now, you're out at work, your spouse, you may have 10 or 15 conversations. They may send you a meme. They may send you a funny reel on Instagram.
Yeah.
You're in constant contact, but it's surface stuff. Like it's a little different. You're not, you don't have the longing of like, oh, they went off to work. They came back. Now you sit down and you can interface like that.
Yeah.
And that's never going back.
Yeah, I agree with all that. So I would ask us to think about, how do we step back and go deeper in dialogue? How do we go deeper in conversations? Because then we're going to actually go deeper in our relationships. So I feel like the absence of a lot of what you're talking about is we're not giving the space to have the conversation. The absence of this space or this vehicle or this vessel to have a conversation, there's no ability to learn and listen from each other. We're just too busy. And then the presence of a phone actually shuts down conversation.
I know about that.
There's real studies on that.
No, right. If you put, and that's why I hate doing this thing here, but I have it. But no, right. When you're having a good conversation and you want to talk to your spouse, just putting the phone there, actually, right. It shows.
I don't see your phone, by the way.
Right. No, but it actually psychologically you won't bring up certain things because you have that out there and it's in your mind.
Yeah, and we have to think about. And so I do this work with this company called Be Generative. We do some leadership programming, and it's all about getting more than what's in front of you. So it's actually, you can get more out of, like this CEO, you can get so much more if you actually embrace and bring people in, right? So the idea here about listening is not a new concept. What's different about it is how deep we're going to go with it. So we can only listen to and speak into what's available. So if we you set this stage up really nicely, right? This conversation's happening. Now, if you didn't set it up or we weren't having this conversation related to the questions you're asking, there wouldn't be anything to step into. I wouldn't know what to speak to. I would be on my phone. You'd get on your phone, and then we'd be sitting downstairs at Sally and Bob's ordering something, and we wouldn't be getting into any kind of depth. And so inquiry is the vehicle. Inquiry. Genuine inquiry.
Curiosity.
But it goes hand in hand. Inquiry, because we could ask questions and then back on the phone. Or we could ask a question and I really don't care, because it's a little bit different, because we have these cast of characters that do our listening for us.
Tell us about that.
So a lot of us like to fix things.
Men in particular.
Yeah. We're going to fix things. So oftentimes we think about, we're having a conversation. How do I fix this? How do I fix this? How do we move forward? What's this can-do attitude? But this other person's over here. No, I got a real situation. I don't want you to fix it. I want you to listen to me. And that's something that I learned from my own wife.
You got to.
I got to slow down and
actually see what's going on. The number one advice to men is, correct, because we fix things. And of course, I'm hyper fixer because I fix complicated problems, legal problems for people. And you're right. Sometimes women in particular, they come to you. And what I try to do this, and I'm better. And what I say to my wife is, do you want solution or comfort?
Yeah.
Tell me what you want. I'll give you both. But if she wants comfort, it's, oh my God, I had this. I'm like, oh my God, that must be terrible. Instead of, hey, and I do this all the time. I'm like, I'm gonna call this person and do this, and she's like, maybe all that's true, but I just need you to hear me.
Yeah.
And that's hard for men to deal with.
Yeah, you got to help out before they come to see you for the other reasons. You got to give them that advice up front.
No, but that's the thing. And they want to be heard and validated.
Absolutely. And what you're doing is a great technique, right?
I'm not great at it, but I'm getting better at it. But I know it.
Because we talk about this as, we have to think about our listening as a precious resource. So one of the skills to do that is do what you're doing. So once someone comes in and say, hey, I have something I need to talk to you about. Hey, let me know. Hey, do you want to vent? Do you want me to help you solve something? Do you want me to give you feedback? Do you want me to give you input? What'd you like? Because as a listener, you're setting the stage as well. You're protecting your own ability to listen, because, if you're just listening for them to vent, you're doing what you did. You say, oh, I hear you. That's not right. That's awful. Whatever the situation might be. Versus if I'm listening to problem solve, I got to listen a little bit differently. I got to listen to the nuances, ask some questions to get clarification about how I understand maybe the other party, the other situation, to understand how I can give you a resolution, right? But it allows you to preserve in yourself to be able to say, hey, I hear you, and this is what I'm going to offer for you. But it also doesn't frustrate the other person, because I've been in a situation as a fixer. If you have that fixer in your mind and you're trying to fix somebody and they don't want to be fixed, you know how awful that feels? We've all been probably on both sides, but I've been on the situation where someone's trying to fix me. It feels like shit.
It does.
It hurts.
It
Like you're
hurts.
really not listening. You don't really care. You're just trying to fix something that I didn't ask you to try to fix.
Interesting. So okay, so with respect to then this process, we have a portion of it is to put the employee first. Like if you're coming in to do some training for leaders and for organizational training and having them relook at everything. What's another component besides that, beyond that?
Well, with leaders,
Okay.
setting this up, it's not just about having like a cultural exercise. Hey, we're going to improve our culture. We're going to have some type of DEI or something that's going to, maybe it's called allyship, something else to work through, because we do care about our people, but we really have to show that we care about our people. That's the key, right? Leaders have to really do some self-reflection. Back to our point earlier, if we don't really believe that, then these programs are a waste of time. Our focus on culture is just, we're just saying it so we could tell our shareholders or we could tell our employees that we're doing it. But if it's shallow, you know what's going to happen. It's not going to stick. People are going to get more frustrated. People aren't walking the talk. So all leaders need to be self-reflective to say, you know what, I believe in this. I believe in my people. I believe that we could actually go farther together as a group. And we're going to do some things that are really focused on people. We're going to ask people what they want, what their values are. Hey, we have values as a company, but I want to understand how values are connecting or not. Because I got to tell you, the newer generations, they value what we value. Like, we want to make a difference. It's not just going to work and get a paycheck anymore. There's multiple generations, as you know, in the workplace. People have different needs. And the newer generations want to do something that's going to make an impact that they believe in. And if you believe in me, I'm gonna work harder to make sure that impact is felt by the community or by your customers.
Okay. So do you typically start with the leadership team or the highest level person that's there?
Depending on the size of the company.
Okay.
I would say likely it's someone that's in the C-suite, or it's an HR leader or a training organization leader that's looking to make a change, to have greater impact with even less effort. So we're also busy reacting and doing all day. So we're really slowing people down to actually slow down and actually say, let's be more proactive. Let's make sure we're doing the right things. Let's make sure we're doing more being. So the way we're showing up, the way we're interacting with people, how we're listening, how we're engaging, how we're inviting people opportunities, showing them what discoveries look like. That's leadership today. That's the leadership that's needed in today's environment. It's not just come in and get the job done and get the results. Everybody go home, great, have a nice day. No, it's having those interactions. It's having those questions in it through inquiry. It's getting people engaged and excited about what they're doing, showing that they mean something more than just coming in for a job, right? They're making that impact. They know they matter. They're making a difference. And leaders aren't as familiar with that. So that's what I'm doing. That's what we're doing to try to engage people. It's not that hard, other than you need to just change back into your true, authentic way of caring for other individuals. I'm not asking you to change into somebody else.
Right.
I'm asking you to come back to being a caring, authentic human being.
Right. That's interesting, because I sort of thought about this. I was in college. I'm a little younger than you, I think. I'm about to be 50. And I was in college in D.C. in the late 90s. And, and so I went to American University. It was very political, and I was interested in politics and whatnot. And I struggled with, and I used to be like a very like conservative, I don't know how, because I came from very modest roots, poor family and whatnot. But I sort of went to college. I was sort of like very like old school Republican like type. Obviously that party's gone now, but it was like, sort of the Bob Dole and like, the people that had different economic expectations, but you could sort of do a deal with them and whatnot. But I thought about like like Bill Clinton, who was like our leader at the time. And I struggled with thinking, could somebody like be, doing sort of the things that he was doing with like Monica Lewinsky? Could you do that and then be also a very effective leader? And I struggled with it as a young man, because you don't know much. You're in your 20s. Like, and I always thought to myself, like, how could you be one person over here and one person over there? And to me, like, and maybe it's just me, but I'm the same guy here as I am there. I don't put on a different. And I think if you interviewed my staff and my team, you would I think they would say that, like, you don't get rich at work versus here. Like, I'm the same, and I don't know. I think that's been effective for me because it's authentic. But I couldn't be somebody else. Yeah. Like, why do people why do people do that? Why do people have like a different persona than, they could be a loving, caring family person in the community, and they come into the office and they're like this, they're a tyrant, they're very regimented, they don't do that. Why are they taught, what in our societal sort of structure or corporate structure has allowed that to happen?
That's a good one. Yeah, that's a good question. I think you're fortunate to be in a situation where you are the same throughout your life. So I wonder how many people could actually honestly say that, especially in corporate America or different roles. It may benefit that you have your firm and you have your life versus having to possibly report into somebody else. Because I think a lot of what is going on is people have been told what they're supposed to be or what they think they're supposed to be. Like, as a white male leader, our country's dominated or has been dominated about how we're supposed to act,
right,
to the point where we don't even know like what's going on when we're acting a different way, or what's expected of us is supposed to be a different way. We're supposed to act like we're in charge. We have all the answers. We can't say we don't know. We can't ask for help. All that's, mind you, changing. But over the years, we're supposed to have that bravado, Marlboro Man type of approach, and just have that approach every single day. So then you're now protecting your turf. You got results. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it firmer. And now I'm protecting my turf. It's actually self-protectionism. It's power and privilege, if we could say that.
No, say it.
Because it's a leverage that I don't think people understand, that we could leverage our privilege and our power and our authority in a whole different manner that would actually get us even more results, better results. And there's part of this whole problem is, I think there's this myth that we can't succeed doing it differently because we don't know. We've watched former leaders. We've been told how to act. Maybe even back to our days in high school, middle school, right? Everything's right or wrong. There's not this ability to have conversation and dialogue about, well, it could be. I have a feeling you might have challenged a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Just, with your background and everything, because that's normal, I would say. But just to say, well, wait a minute. It's, maybe I'm not as good at art, but I'm creative. And I like sharing this stat. I don't know if you know this, but, 98% of children, maybe even 100%, some of the studies that NASA has done, show that kids that are on average 5 years old can really solve things through creativity and show and exhibit the ability to be creative. What do you think the percentage is for adults?
Oh, probably low.
What do you think?
Well, how much was it for kids? 5?
98.
Oh, 98. Oh, adults, 40%?
2%.
Wow.
2%. So what happened, right?
What happened?
So 98% to 2%, the inverse. So this is what happens. The world is put on us. We start to get judged. We start to be told. We start to wonder. We got responsibilities. So I'm just going to now polarize myself into my little corner, my little bubble. And then I'm just going to fight people off. If you think about that from a political standpoint, that's part of the ugliness. If we think about that from a personal standpoint, I'm going to hide on my phones. I'm going to be isolated. If you think about this from a community perspective, we're really not there for each other. And that's what we're seeing. This is like an issue. This is an epidemic in this country, in this world. And I just got to say, I just got back from Africa, just to switch gears a little bit.
Yeah.
I just got back from Africa.
Okay.
I work with this company called Kasha Kunin, also as a fractional operating and people officer. So I'm able to practice all this in a wonderful workplace, all this work. And the CEO and we went and met another facility. He's got 3 facilities, one in Watertown, Connecticut. It's the largest global wax manufacturer in the world. Another one in Holland, and then a third one in Togo, West Africa. So we went out there to collect an award, because we won an award with the Secretary of State in the United States. We were at the U.S. Embassy. Then we went out to do some beekeeping with real beekeepers out in these small villages that you could imagine in the middle of the bush in Togo, West Africa. And then while we were there, albeit I didn't speak the language, the local language, these kids that were sitting there were like looking at us like, who the heck are you guys? What are you doing here? We were there to celebrate these beekeepers. These beekeepers, what happens, they set up these beehives that we've helped them. We've helped out over 30,000 beekeepers in Togo, which is why we won the award. And they actually are setting these up out by their farms. So these are farmers. And what they've recognized, they've doubled their income because their farms are yielding more
is the pollination.
Yeah, the pollination. Right. So you could, the apples and the orchards and other things that they're growing, the yield is like double. They're selling the honey, and they're actually selling the wax to this company so that we can refine it and put it into products that we use every day, like shampoos or lipsticks, or even on the Major League Baseball, for example. So it's fascinating. When I was there, I started feeling a little bit differently because I recognized that people were so happy. but there's no running water. There are no beds to sleep on. These are like just cement blocks, huts. And the kids were looking at me like, just very intrigued. So I gave them a look back and smiled. They smiled. They look at each other like, is it okay to smile at this guy? So then I started to get goofy and they started all giggling and laughing. Next thing you know, 5 minutes later, we're sitting there dancing together. So I didn't speak the local language, but I spoke the universal language, which is just about showing that I love these kids. I'm curious and I had all this wonder for them. Like there's so much possible for them. And what I learned after asking more questions with the adults is like, how are you surviving? They're like, we're very content. We have water. We have to go get it in a local, waterway in the middle of the village. We have to bring it back to do our bathing, our showering, our cooking. And we're just going to live a good life that we have in front of us. We have family. We're here. Our next life will be even better. How simple.
Very simple. I want to ask you this question because I talk about this a lot. I have a unique view on this, but hear me out because I think a lot of people revolt at first. But I want your take on it. I think money can buy happiness, and hear me out because most people, your reaction would be, "Oh, money doesn't buy happiness." That's the adage for 100 years. But here's what I mean by that. Money can buy experiences, right? Which are, to me, invaluable, right? So if obviously you had great experiences and there was money, but taking your kids on a safari or whatever it is, it opens up the world of. I've been in a house where we couldn't pay the electric bill and we had to get assistance from the state. Of course, people that live like that in poverty actually die sooner, have more adverse health thing. I mean, that's tracked. So poverty kills you, and sometimes kills you quickly, kills you slowly, but it kills you faster than having money. So, but it opens up experiences, and it also allows you to focus on things that you want to do because, as you generate the income and say if you're self-employed, you can say, this is what I want to do, and I can focus on this. It's not just you can go to the store and exchange the money for the happiness, but I do believe that access to income and wealth can bring a modicum of happiness, depending on how you define it. Do you think that's crazy?
I don't think it's crazy. I think the key word I heard is can.
Right.
Like money doesn't just buy happiness.
Right.
It's like everything. It depends. How did you receive everything? The key is how did you receive what you just said, the experiences? Did you buy it? And did you just go and you check the box and you put it on Facebook? And we went to all these places.
The highlight reel.
Or did you actually go and actually feel it and actually connect with your family or whatever the intention of that trip or those situations? Because I agree with the experiences are a big part of our happiness. In fact, a lot of studies will show that our happiness comes from a lot of the actions and experiences that we do create for ourselves.
Right.
To whatever level. It doesn't mean you have to buy it.
Right.
Walking in here, I could have opened the door for someone. And that's a level of like action. Didn't cost me anything. Right. But that person might have gotten a level of appreciation differently. Right. Or just to say hi to somebody behind the counter that just made your coffee or made your daily sandwich, whatever it is, in a different capacity. You don't have to buy it.
What's the line from Les Mis? Do you know Les Mis?
I do. I love the show, but I don't know the
my
lines.
son. Well, I'll tell you. So my son has been to 102 Broadway shows. That's one of the experiences we do. He's 10 years old, and we go to all of them. We've seen Les Mis 10 times. And,
awesome.
And there's the famous is Master of the House, right? The Thénardiers, and they're duplicitous bad people, but they're also very funny. And one of the things he says is, doesn't cost me to be nice. Nothing gets you nothing, but everything has got a little price. Yeah. But of course, that ruins the first part of it. But the first part of it is doesn't cost you to be nice. And that's true.
Yeah.
What does
I want
it
you to
cost?
sing it, Rich. I feel like you could sing that.
It's funny. I can because they came to town for summer stock one year, and I was going to audition to be Thénardier. And I wanted to do that. And my kids still, like, to this day, they want me to reprise that role if they come in. And I said, if they ever come back, I will get that role and I will be Thénardier for Les Mis.
So how do you feel when you do that?
Oh, I love it. I wanted to be an actor. I wanted it to be I did acting a little bit in middle school, and then it died out. But I'd love to do it.
So what about it?
Well, if it comes back, I can't go across the country and do summer stock in Cleveland for the summer. But
no, but what makes you love it?
Oh, it's just fun. It's I don't know. I think it's fun. There's a part of it that would that's exciting to play somebody you're not. But I also think part of it too is my kids would love to see me do it. So I think that they would get a lot of a joy out of it. So seeing them be happy. I don't know. There's an intangible, like just being, Like I still remember my 8th grade speech. I went to a very small private school down in Woodbridge, and I still remember my speech. We all gave speeches because there was like 12 of us in the class, and I said, I love the smell of the paint, the roar of the smell of the grease paint, the roar of the crowd. Like there's a thing to that. Like probably. I was a single, I was the only child for a little while, then my mom remarried, but probably like getting the attention that I didn't get as a kid or when she had the other kids. I don't know. It's probably tied to something like that, but I don't know, it's just fun, right? It's just to sing I don't have a great voice, but I would figure it out for that. But
yeah, but just looking at you, your eyes are bright.
Oh, yeah, no, I like it.
But you're sparkling, your smile's bigger than I've seen since I've been here. But you're connected to it. That's
I like it.
That's my point of asking you this is you're alive more than you're like I love asking the question like what animates you. This is animating you.
That would animate me. Yeah.
So this is a level of connection. We all have to understand what animates us, what gets us this level, the way you're coming across, the way you're showing, right? It's beautiful. Yeah. So how do we find that? And that's the experience of doing. And it's not just the outcome of being the actor. It's the experience of going through those components and connecting back to your children and connecting to what's meaningful to you. That's joy. You just showed it. You just lit up. That's what I mean. Like, so you could go out and you could buy yourself to go get an audition and all this other stuff. Okay, fine. But it's what you do with it, how you interact with those experiences. Like, is that going to let you light up, or are you just going to again check the box, put it on Facebook, or back to the corporate setting, or are we just going to tell our employees, hey, we did focus on the culture, but if we're really not focused on the connection to people, showing the meaning of it, having people involved with it. Like I love the words "get involved" or "get curious," because that's the difference that I don't think leaders are spending enough time to do. Because I got to go to this meeting, I got to go prepare, I got to go do this. Stop. Go focus on your people. Be authentic. Be genuine. Get curious. Wonder what's there. Believe that there's something inside. Because when I went through this awakening, for me, I didn't believe it to the level I do now. Like I now, instead of trying to bring out the best in people, I now seek the light in people. And you just showed me your light.
Oh, that's interesting.
So now I look past all the things that stopped me in the past, and I look for the light that's inside you. My goal is always to see someone's eyes brighten up.
Interesting. So I want to talk about this as it relates to, because I know it's a hot button topic, but it's important to me. I love to travel the world. I'm very curious. I've traveled to the Middle East. I used to do Islamic finance. So I traveled to the Middle East.
That's cool.
And I love just getting off in a new country and going to a grocery store. I asked the cab driver, like, where do you go? Take me there. I want to hang out with you, like whatever. Because I want to learn. I'm curious about people. And my son was more of an introvert. We go to England a bunch because he loves Premier League soccer. He loves English soccer. Me too. So and the game's on right now. Man City's in the FA Cup. I don't know if you know.
So you're a Man City fan?
No, I'm. I'll tell you in a second. We went to a Liverpool game in February, and we sat in the cop. Like my son was like singing "You'll Never Walk Alone." It was crazy. So we've been mostly Arsenal fan, Gooners,
I'm an Arsenal fan.
Yeah. So but we toured Etihad, but we didn't. I'm sorry, Emirates. But we is it Emirates? Yeah, Etihad is Man City. And then we went to Old Trafford. We toured that, and then we we watched the Newcastle game in the Newcastle section, and then we went to a Liverpool game versus the Wolves. Wow. So it's great. But I talk to these cab drivers. I'm always interested in people. Tell me about your life. How do you live? I love accents. So to me, like diversity is like this word that's becoming under attack, and to me, like people's life experiences. There could be huge diversity just with white men. Like, for instance, for me, I grew up with a single mother, we were on food stamps, Section 8. Like, I may be more diverse than, like, our friend Mark. Like, that's a level of diversity, even though we look alike in terms of our skin color and our privilege, perhaps. Like, that's a level of diversity. But to me, I know it's some people that are against this. Oh, diversity is our strength. I honestly believe like those differences could bring so much value and happiness. Like if you say, well, tell me, how does your family, in your culture cook? What kind of food do you bring to the table? Like, how do you integrate that into your family? Like, tell me about that. I want to learn about that. Would you be willing to bring addition from your family? Like, what are people that are attacking this so scared of?
It's self-preservation.
Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm. And
they're afraid that it's going to upend the status quo that's been supporting them.
I think that's the greatest fear.
To me, it's like, it's like what to me, like we should want. To me, that's look. You shouldn't just do it for the sake of doing it. You should do it just I think there is a component when I talk to people that I know that are like sort of against this, and I dig down. I'm like, well, what's your concern? And they're like, well, concern is that we're just picking people just because they're different, not because they're qualified. I'm like, okay, but you could be qualified and different, and that difference gives a different perspective, which we want. They could be creative in a different way that'll help your business.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Like you can have a level of empathy that's different and will connect with certain people because of your upbringing, because of your culture. So I don't know. I just, to me, it always was like, oh my God, I love the differences. I want, but also I learned from traveling that, there's lots of cultural differences, but that we're all sort of, there's an underlying module in all of us that you can plug into. And that's like, hey, we all appreciate being made to feel good. And we all appreciate joy, right? So that I think transcends all of those cultural differences. But the cultural differences enhance, in my view, the human experience, right? Because if we were all just, guys like us or whatever, we have our own culture and we have certain things, but that's boring. I want to see other people, that the people that are there that are that are tending to bees and that are, the kids that are out playing in the woods and doing all kinds of interesting things. Like, to me, that's a level that brings a level of joy to me because of those differences, right? Do you see that too?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a mindset. It's a place to kind of live from. And is it partially you might be extroverted?
I am. Yeah.
You might live with a level of abundance. You believe in abundance.
I do.
So I think those are a couple of things that help. I mean, introversion doesn't mean you can't ask questions with care and love and interest. And I think love is, it's a word that even like guys actually will say, no, I can't use the word love. Like I was one of those people, before I had my awakening.
You were like your dad.
Yeah. Like I thought love was, to be used with only certain people. And if it was used with other people, it would be misperceived potentially, or there'd be different risk. And, when I went through my awakening, which was, May 26, 2016, I was actually at a 4-day diversity.
Oh, so tell me about this. Was it a day that the awakening happened?
It was actually a day.
But
it was a 4-day
retreat
immersion event that was all around diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Okay.
And what really got me there was this whole conversation around the fact that I wasn't opening up my world, my lens, to exactly what you're saying about understanding what differences really mean. It's not about a level of self-preservation or my way is better. It's really it's about how do we think more expansively to see all the other ideas and where people are coming from. And let me just back up a second, because the first 2 days at this immersion event, there's 25 people at this event, and there were 5 white guys. I was one of the 5 white guys. The rest of the group was mixed with women and just different backgrounds, ethnicities, et cetera. And it was amazing because after a couple of days, we're learning about each other. We're learning about our cultural differences, indifferences, et cetera, how we're similar. Like sometimes we have this weird sense that we're not the same, we're not similar, we're just different. And that's part of the problem. Because I've always looked at sameness as a way to connect and to build relationships. And then I had this level of bias that I would push people away that didn't have that level, or there's a level of discomfort. So self-preservation and a level of discomfort is the problem, or this problems, in my opinion. People are just not comfortable to welcome people in that are different than themselves. You're comfortable talking to taxi drivers. I love it too. I've had some of the most amazing experiences talking to a cab driver. When you ask these questions and you really care. You're not just asking just to, oh, okay, great, I'm moving on. But you're diving in. You're going to the next level, the 3rd level, 4th level, et cetera. But on this 2nd day, I recognized, instead of saying, hey, come on, we could do this, rah, rah, as a leader, I was like, oh, shit, I'm part of the problem. I need to be part of the solution. So that night, I couldn't sleep. I was talking to different people from the event. I was shaken. I was crying. I never thought you could cry at work. But I was so upset the next day. That morning, I asked one of the facilitators. I said, "Hey, Bill, can I approach the group? I can't sit still. I'm shook by this. Like I'm terrified." So I approached the group, and I had said, I wasn't fully honest, yesterday about some of my views, and I just basically said I had these these biases I got to overcome, and you guys are amazing. And I'm like, I've been holding many of you back in opportunities. I would choose other people.
This is your company.
Yeah.
What kind of company was it?
Financial services.
Okay.
Was at Mass Mutual. Okay. It's in my book, so it's out there. But I was holding people back. And who am I to hold people back? To decide they're capable or not? People that have degrees or not? People that have passion or not? I didn't know, because I wasn't asking, right? You typically bring the same 10% of people to do the projects or present the opportunities or give promotions to. So I was one of those leaders. Like, I'm a good guy. I thought I was doing the right thing up to that point where I recognized I was not using my privilege honorably. And I needed to say, it's not about me. My job is to make sure it's about everybody else. And I shared that, and I was emotional, and I wasn't looking for sympathy, with my tears, because I'm sure some people are looking at me like, why is he crying? He has no right to cry. Because that's what happens. Like, if we share that level of connection through diversity and inclusion, and yet we're crying, it's like, why are you crying? Like, I'm the one who's struggling. I'm like, well, I'm struggling because I was an asshole. Like, I should have been better. And my point of saying that is, like, I wasn't looking for people to pick me up. I just wanted them to know, like, this is my commitment. I am going to change from this day. I had a purpose to bring out the best in people around me, but I changed that day to what I shared with you earlier. Is like, I'm going to look for the light in everybody and let people be enlightened by the light they have within themselves. I'm going to believe in you so you can believe in yourself, so you can light up. And it's not on me to judge you, but yeah, I'm going to give you the opportunity. And that's what I think diversity and inclusion is all about. Inclusion is about giving everybody the opportunity. It's what people do with it. It's what people do with these experiences, giving people the chance to learn, to be able to participate, to share from their heart, to give in ways that they've never given before. You'll be amazed what happens if we do that with our people. Give people, I would ask anybody listening, go ask somebody you're nervous to talk to and ask them some questions, like, what animates you? Where are you from? What excites you? And if there are people you work with, like, ask them what opportunities they want and help them get there. You'll be shocked what happens.
Are the folks in this climate, the CEOs that are rolling back these programs, would you agree that they're actually doing a disservice to their shareholders?
Yeah, I do. I think it's a big mistake. I think these companies are going to feel the impacts.
Target's already feeling it.
And yeah, exactly. They're going to.
Well, that's through boycott, but I think you're right. I mean, structurally,
yeah,
they'll feel it, right?
Well, I think people won't work there over time. You're going to get the same type of people. To your point earlier, the same people that think the same way. You're going to be myopic and not really be able to actually meet your market demand, especially as our country continues to diversify. Mm-hmm. And I just want to go back to, like, something that Nelson Mandela would even talk about. Someone that was. He was captivated. He was in jail, and then he came out and would talk to his captors about, how are we going to solve this? How are we going to all figure out how we're going to get more, with each other versus against each other? And it's so true. He came out loving his captors, and they figured out how to get more for their whole society. And that's all we're doing here. Is like, if let's just say it's a white guy or anybody that doesn't believe they're diverse, because you're right, there's 9 billion people that are diverse in this world. Because we're all different and unique, if we actually think about it to that level. If we think about it to that extent, and we actually start to welcome in what we all bring, this is where we come back to that word distinction. We don't separate difference from differences. We actually look at, here are the differences, and how do we relate to one another so we can get more than? How do we generate more together? And that's the myth, is that self-preservation. We think we're protecting something. We're only holding ourselves back. And that's my whole story with my awakening. Is like, I was in this little bubble, limiting myself, limiting possibilities and joy for people all around me and myself, until that burst. I was just going to kind of go down that path. But since it burst, my life fully expanded. So I thought I was suffocating at that time because I was found out, until I realized, no, I'm not free to actually help out the greater world. And it's what's not only was I expansive, but the people that were with me became more expansive.
What did I know you have 2 kids, right?
I do.
And a wife. What did they see since the awakening? How does it change you as a dad and a husband?
Well, that's a great question. I think I'm not perfect as a dad.
Never, none of us are.
It's always harder at home.
Of course, that's the title of my second book. It's always harder at home.
I love it. I think they would all say, Dad, you're so patient. You're more patient than anybody, and you always look at things in a positive way. And I don't mean to say it's rosy and it's always positive and good. What I mean by that is, I give it a chance.
Yes.
I give it a chance to be something that we could learn from. So if we screw up, we make mistakes. We all do.
Are you sure you didn't have any childhood trauma? There has to be something here. There's got to be something.
I'll have to think about it.
You got to think about
Yeah.
it. There has to be, because I do, and I have a very similar way of looking at it. That my friends joke with me that I'm the most optimistic guy, but I'd be the guy that'd be falling down from the Empire State Building. My friend said this to me one time, and you look out the window and say, "Hey, Rich, how's it going?" Like, "Oh, it's not so bad." You know,
I'm still here.
I'm still
Until we
here,
get there.
right?
Yeah.
And so, but I'm like that to the end, right? Like it's like things are fine.
Yeah.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
So it's right. So you're right. You're right. Give it a chance. What else? Patient, more understanding.
Yeah. My wife and I, we asked our kids, we were with another couple probably 10 years ago. This is before the awakening, but it was around that time frame. And, I've been starting to think about this happiness thing. And we asked the kids, we said, give us one word. So, how to describe us or how to define us. This is a great exercise for you to do with your family.
But you got to, it's going to gut you. Like
you have to be ready.
You got to be ready, because it'll, yeah.
The key word
kids,
again,
the key kids word, will tell you they don't hold anything back.
They won't. The key word is receiving. You got to be ready to receive it,
and not be defensive.
Yeah, and there's this other phrase. I didn't coin this phrase. I can't remember who did, but this phrase: if you get furious, get curious. So if your kid says something or anybody says something, okay, dig in, help me understand. How'd you get here? Why that? But they described my wife as loving and me as happy. So we were like, okay, good. We're on the right path. My son, I've been in situations with him over the years, high school, middle school, where he has stood up for other people. He's been there for other people.
What's better than that, right?
Nothing.
Yeah.
He's had his own situations where he's learned he doesn't want to be on the other side, and he's been picked on for different things. And he's like, I'm not letting these other people be picked on or what have you. So proud of him. And my daughter, she sees the world in a different way. She sees a level of inclusivity that's so beautiful, where she sees the beauty when we bring people in and how they light up. For example, one day we were actually pulling up to Dunkin' Donuts, just getting some treats and coffee and whatnot. And this is about a year after I had this awakening, my bubble burst, and I'm starting to receive the world and the differences and the beauty. And this woman behind the counter had this like blue hair. Like before that year, I probably would have been like, "What's up with the blue hair?" I don't know if anybody is sitting there going, listening to this, saying, "Oh yeah, maybe I judged that in the past too." I don't know. My daughter goes, "Dad, isn't that cool? She's celebrating being different." And I'm like, "Holy crap. That's the most beautiful thing I've ever heard."
Right.
I'm like, yes. Like, so it was like, I think it was like we're creating this space where we want to hear more. And I wanted to hear more from my kids and my wife about what are you seeing? What are we noticing? We talk about what's going on in the world at home all the time. I love their perspectives. And I think that's another message to adults. Like, are we listening to our kids? Are we asking them what's going on versus, "Hey, how was your day?" Like, tell me what you noticed. What did you see? What's confusing? What's the challenge? So how do we engage them in a deeper, more definite way? Like, and really unlock some of those dark areas. Maybe there are elements of darkness where we want to put some light in, or maybe there's areas that they need to shine it on us. There's days when we're coming home groggy or tired or not feeling great, but they can shine the light back on us if we allow that. Again, it's all about how do we receive it? What do we receive? Are we going to react like I did when I was in my little bubble? Or are we going to be more expansive to say proactively, no, I got to welcome what's there. There's something here. I got to dig in. And you asked a question about childhood trauma. I can't say I had much. I mean, I did have this situation, you'll have to read it in the book, where as an altar boy, it wasn't a good situation.
Oh, right.
I was not physically abused, but I was assaulted to the sense I was asked. So it was to a point where, gosh, it could have gone that path. My next door neighbor, something wasn't so pleasant there. So I can't say that's why I'm who I am, but in my book, I do talk about,
and maybe that could be my own cynicism, right?
Yeah.
And my own bias, but it's wonderful. And it's not to take anything away from you. I'm just curious how people get to where they are.
But just to add to that, just to close that out for a second, so for me, like, I knew this priest in particular, knew him really well. He was there for me. So I was married. I got divorced. He was there to help me fix that situation, so I could get married again back in the church. So I respected him, but I didn't respect what happened. Obviously, I mortified. But he was someone I would talk to, and I gave him forgiveness. I don't forgive him for everything he did for everybody else. I gave him forgiveness, not really for him. It was for me.
Oh, right, of course.
So forgiveness
is about you.
Right? It needs back to us. We need to make sure we are able to be free of what's holding us back. The levels of doubt, maybe those childhood traumas. Maybe we need to have some of those conversations. Maybe we need to lower some of the walls to have some of those tough conversations. Or maybe we need help from a psychotherapist or someone to actually work through that so we can actually break through those walls. Because it does impact our relationships with our spouses.
Trauma creeps into everything.
Our children.
All right. So to wrap up, what if you could pick of all? Obviously, I don't want to distill your whole system down to an expression, but if you could pick the best sort of adage, saying, that if I said to you one thing that you can tell somebody that universally would be good advice for leaders in the community or leaders of businesses, whatever it may be, what would that be?
I mean, it starts with, in my opinion, believing
in others,
and then showing people that you believe in them and what you say and what you do.
And you would view that, you'd rank that as the most important piece of advice.
Well, if you don't do it, then you're a fraud.
Right.
I mean, you're going to come across disingenuous. You're going to come across, and I'm speaking from who I was, because I was acting like someone else, like I was told to be as a leader, versus someone that I actually had the awakening to be. I'm going to be my authentic self. And guess what? To your point, what you said earlier, it's so much easier being your authentic self than trying to be someone else. It's so much easier.
Right.
There's no other persona you got to create. But just from that, in the book, it's an acronym. It's called High Possible. So it's high is happiness and inclusion, and possible are 8 steps, and how you break free and open up a space where possibilities become endless, and your happiness and joy will just be popping all over the place. So it's a path. Right. And it's a journey. It's a lifelong journey. In my book, it's fairly large, but I'd say about a third of it actually is it's a work guide to work you through it. But it's a guide, right? If we're not working on ourselves, then it's hard to work on the world. Back to our point earlier, if we don't have joy ourselves, how do we actually bring joy to the world? How do we bring more love to the world if we don't find the love within ourselves? So I would say take time with ourselves as far as understanding who we are, what we really value, what we connect with, and believe in yourself too. So then you can then believe and other people and other human beings.
And then that's very powerful. And if people want to learn more about you or hire you as a consultant or a fractional happiness officer, how do they find you?
You could send me an email, or I'm on LinkedIn.
Okay, LinkedIn. But what's your website? Way. I mean, is it IgniteHappy.com?
Yes, ignitehappy.com.
Yep.
Okay. And LinkedIn, you can send me a message on LinkedIn. It's probably the easiest way. Yeah.
By the way, I got to just spend 2 minutes on this. So you should friend me on LinkedIn, and here's why. I troll LinkedIn, and I'll tell you why. And I know you need it for your business. That's how you get business, and I get it. But I find LinkedIn so inauthentic and cringy.
Yeah. I'm feeling that way too.
I troll it because I post these funny posts that sort of make fun of it, like ironic things, because it's always like, join me. I'm so humbled to announce. Fuck you. Stop it. Like everyone on there. To me, it's like,
yeah, it's cringy. Right.
But I get it. It's a tool, and it can help you get business, and I get it. It's just to me, like I post food reviews on there. I do crazy shit on there because I'm just like, I find it so repulsive. But I could be better about it. And again, if it makes me furious, I should be curious why.
Yeah, you should.
So I will.
I agree with you because I think it is.
It's just a little too
it's a little bit much. Yeah, get curious.
Thank you so much. This was awesome, and you've inspired me to think about a lot of things. I do feel good because I do a lot of the things that you talk about, and because I'm authentic. I do not separate my work persona from my personal persona, and I think that that's made all of the difference in my success and growing my firm, because what you see is what you get, and if you're a good person and you're curious and you really fundamentally help and want to care for people, the sky's the limit.
Yeah, and I appreciate you leading the way because it's going to make it safer for other people to do the same. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, pleasure.
Thanks,
thank you.
Thank you.